Hello listeners and viewers. Welcome to Kaduna State Ministry of Education Radio and TV e-learning program designed for our SS3 and other students staying at home due to the coronavirus pandemic. The present administration, under the able leadership of His Excellency, Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai, is positioned as always to ensure that under his leadership, our students are not left behind in all areas of human endeavors, especially education. Kaduna State is the center of learning. Therefore, we want to ensure that our students excel in their forthcoming examinations and beyond. Students and other learners at home are given this opportunity in order to continue learning, as education is a continuous process. Different subjects will be taught in this program to assist students to perform excellently in the forthcoming Senior School Certificate examination being conducted by NECO and WAEC as soon as schools reopen. Teachers making presentations will always provide their names and phone numbers during each presentation, and they can be contacted for questions, further explanations, and/or clarifications. The following numbers and contacts can also be reached for expression of any concern or observation: 090-865-00545 or 080-383-62072. Our website is www.education.kdsg.gov.ng. Our email education@kdsg.gov.ng or education.kdsg@gmail.com. Our YouTube channel, Ministry of Education, Kaduna State. Our Twitter handle @Kaduna_MOE. Or our Facebook page, Ministry of Education, Kaduna State. Stay safe, stay at home, and learn well. Thank you, happy listening, and happy viewing.
Hello, learners. Welcome to another segment of e-learning. I am Mrs. Chinyo, and I will be taking government. Our topic today is independence of the judiciary. This is the concluding segment of the topics we have treated initially, that is the arms of government. This is the concluding unit. Starting the lesson, what is the meaning of independence of the judiciary? That is, when you hear the word independence of the judiciary, what comes to mind? By way of definition, it can be defined as the absence of undue interference from the legislature and the executive arms in the performance of its responsibilities or duties. When the judiciary does not suffer unnecessary interference from either the legislature, the executive, or other powerful institutions in a country, we say that the judiciary is independent. It does according to laid down principles and rules without being asked or forced by another organ of government. Now, there is need to encourage the independence of the judiciary in any country. That brings us to the unit that says ways to promote the independence of the judiciary. Now, there are many ways that the independence, the judiciary, can be encouraged to become independent. These ways include the following. 1. A neutral body should hire and fire judges and not the executive and the legislature. The point here is advocating for a commission, an independent body that will be responsible solely for hiring and firing judges as the case may be. This will help to ensure their independence. Point number 2, the judiciary should be completely independent of the executive and legislative control. That is, they should not be within the dictates of the executive or the legislature. Rather, they should have nothing, so to say. I know that there is no way the three organs of government will not interrelate or depend on one another. But there should be a clause, a provision of the Constitution that gives the judiciary its independence, so that the executive and legislature will know that when they interfere, they are being unconstitutional. Number 3, the promotion of judges should be done by an independent body. This point is also advocating that a body or a commission that will be responsible for the promotion of judges be set up. And not only set up, but that body should be independent, free from external interference, so that they can do the promotion based on merit and not based on who you know. In addition, another point that will promote the independence of the judiciary is in the areas of salaries and allowances. Salaries and allowances of the judiciary should be realistic to prevailing economic reality. They should be paid in such a way that their take-home will be able to meet their basic needs and other needs. Another point has to do with the number of years in office. The tenure of judges in office should be secured by legislation. Why? In order to prevent victimization by the executive. This point is saying that there should be a law on ground that will state the tenure of judges in office once appointed. Now, this will help judges feel secure that no matter who the offender is, they will pass their judgment without bias. And they will not be afraid that because of the judgment that they are passing, if it does not please the offender, that they will be removed from office, knowing that the law has already secured their tenure, except where they are accused of gross misconduct, that tenure should be secured. Last but not the least, judges should have security personnel around them at all times. It will save them from harassment. It will protect them from intimidation when they have personal security men around them. Now, these are some of the points that helps in the promotion of the independence of the judiciary. Now, like I said earlier, it is difficult to obtain total independence from interference from the other arms of government. And that is what we want to look at now. This unit is saying limitation to the independence of the judiciary. That is, I want us to look at those factors or those points that can hinder or negatively affect the independence of the judiciary. That is, extraneous variables that can play or affect the judiciary in the performance of their duties. The points are many. However, we have the following. One of the limitations to the performance and independence of the judiciary has to do with political interference in the appointment of judges, where the political executive have a say, where they can determine, where they can insist on the person that will be appointed as a judge, whether he merits it, whether it is his turn or not. But because they have an interest in him, when such practices is allowed, it does what? It serves as a limitation in the independence of the judiciary. Because there is a saying, he who pays the piper dictates the tune. If I interfere and bring you into the appointment of a judge, when I commit an offense, you will not be in a position to look at me straight in the eye and say I have committed an offense. You will not be able, because I decided on your appointment. So you will not be free and fair in passing your judgments. Another important point that can limit the independence of the judiciary has to do with the use of decrees during military regimes. We all know that during military regimes, they can just enact decrees and they have their military mobile courts to settle cases. Now, when these practices are allowed or comes to play in a country, you find out that it limits the independence of the judiciary, because you cannot challenge military decrees in a law court. You cannot drag them to law court. So it affects the independence of the judiciary. Number 3, which is a very serious issue, and that has to do with flagrant disrespect to court order or ruling by the executive. There are instances, a lot of instances, which this platform will not allow us to cite, but there are instances whereby the executive, be they the chief executive or members of the executive, when they are dragged to court over an issue and the court orders or passes a ruling or sentence against them, they refuse outrightly to obey or to respect the ruling of the court. And nothing can be done about it. Now it limits the independence of the judiciary. Point number 4. Judges entertaining interference from the political executive. Now, in situations whereby judges themselves entertain, they listen to interferences from the political executive. Now that limits their independence. Point number 5, corruption in the judiciary. What do I mean by that? Now this is a situation whereby the judiciary gets or receives unwarranted favor from the political executive. They know that it is not their legal right. The Constitution did not give them that benefit. Yet, when they solicit and collect such favors from the political executive, then their independence is compromised, because there will be a payback time or payback day. When you collect favor from me today, tomorrow when I come for a favor from you, you will be ashamed not to oblige. So when they collect or get unwarranted favor, it is sure that it will compromise the independence. Last but not the least, has to do with the use of tribunals as a means of sidelining the orthodox courts of law. Now, whenever we have tribunals set up to settle matters or cases and not within the context of the orthodox court, the chances are that the independence of the judiciary can be compromised. Now, how do we safeguard the independence of the judiciary? How do we safeguard? How do we protect the judiciary from undue interference? How? Number 1, appointments and dismissal of judiciary officers should strictly be done by an independent body. Once an independent body is responsible for the appointments and dismissal of judiciary officers, then we are heading towards having an independent judiciary. Point number 2, there should be strict compliance to the principle of separation of power between the 3 arms of government. We'll take up this topic when next we meet. Principle of separation of power between the 3 arms of government. Each of the arms of government should operate within the constitutional provision of its functions. When that is done, then the judiciary is going to be independent. Number 3, proper and adequate remuneration to judicial officers will keep them away from corruption. This point is saying that workers in the judiciary should be adequately paid, both salary and allowances and other incentives. When you are well paid, there will be no reason for you to start seeking for undue gratification from other sources that are unconstitutional. Another point, the judiciary should not be funded by the executive. This point is actually very necessary. The country and its constitution should create an independent source of funding for the judiciary so that the political executive cannot threaten them by withholding their monies because of some favor they refuse to give. The next point, immunity from victimization from the other two arms will help its independence. Immunity. The judiciary should be constitutionally protected. That's the word, constitutionally protected from being victimized. The next point has to do with political neutrality. The judicial arm of government should not get involved in politics at all. Once they are not, then they will be independent from undue interference. Last but not the least, in this unit, total independence from the other two arms of government. We advocate that the judiciary should be completely free from interference from the legislature and the executive arm of government. Now, before I give you the assignments, I want to summarize the lesson. Independence of the judiciary you had means absence of undue interference in its activity from any quarters, be it the legislature or the executive. The judiciary should be free to perform its responsibilities and duties. Then we said there are ways that can promote the independence of the judiciary, which we said include there should be a neutral body responsible for hiring and firing judges and not the other two arms of government. We added that the judiciary should be completely independent of the two arms of government. We also said that an independent body should be responsible for the promotion of judges. In addition, we said proper salaries and allowances when paid should meet the economic realities of the day. Having said that, we said there are ways to safeguard the independence of the judiciary. How can the independence of the judiciary be safeguarded? These include appointment and dismissal of judiciary officers should be done by an independent body. Then there should be strict compliance with the principles of separation of power between the three arms of government. Then we said adequate or proper salary based on economic reality, if paid to the judicial officers, will keep them away from the temptation of corruption. We also said that the judiciary should not be funded by the executive. Then those who work in the judiciary also, The Constitution should protect them. They should be granted immunity from victimization from the other two arms of government. We also added that if the judiciary wants to be independent, they should be non-partisan. That is, they should not involve in politics. Last but not the least, we said there should be complete independence from the other two arms of government. Now, this brings us to the end of the lesson. However, before I step down, I want to leave you with a few assignments that will keep you busy. Number one, I want you to define the concept of judicial independence. That is, what do we mean by judicial independence? Number two, discuss 4 ways that can promote the independence of the judiciary. 4 ways that can promote the independence of the judiciary. Assignment number 3, explain 4 limitations to the independence of the judiciary. Explain 4 limitations to the independence of the judiciary. Last but not the least, question number 4. Suggest 4 means or 4 ways of safeguarding the independence of the judiciary. I take number 4 again. Suggest 4 means or 4 ways of safeguarding the independence of the judiciary. When you finish the assignments, submit it to this number: 081 40 74 2553. I take the number again: 081 04 74 2553. I remain yours, Mrs. Chinyo Juliana T. Stay home, stay safe, and keep learning till we meet in the next class. Thank you.